Although they have lost every single preseason game so far, and they are an older team in terms of median age, it still doesn't mean that they're going to be foreshadowing what happened with the 2012-2013 Lakers. I think that's just absolutely ridiculous that people even throw that out there because of just how different the circumstances are, right? Let's start first off with what happened in that 2012-2013 season. Injuries, and a lot of injuries. A lot of injuries happened, and I remember watching that team closely because I was still rooting for Kobe to win another championship that year, and I was hoping that the tandem of him being with Howard, Nash, Gasol, Metta World Peace would actually, bring fruit and bring forth another championship, and it would be fun to watch another run from this Lakers team. But it didn't happen, and a lot of it had to do with injuries. Okay. So at one point in early January of 2013, the Lakers went through what was a crazy amount of injuries within a two-game span, okay? So the team's entire big man rotation just instantly fell off, okay? Dwight Howard had a torn labrum in his right shoulder. Paul Gasol had a brutal concussion after JaVale McGee's elbow came in and hit him in the face. And then you have Jordan Hill, who was the bench player, being hurt with a torn labrum as well in his left hip. Like, this was an insane circumstance within 2 days, basically. And that was just the tip of what was an entire season full of injuries, okay? Obviously, Steve Nash, his age at 39 years old, he was not the same guy. He missed 32 games, 8 of which was because of his hip, back, and hamstring, and 24 of which was a fractured right fibula, okay? Steve Blake, which was the bench guard coming in for Nash, he missed 37 games. So now you don't even have a guard that's reliable to pass it off to Dwight Howard when he would play and Jordan Hill sometimes. But Jordan Hill missed 53 games during that season. Holy snap. Paul Gasol missed 33 games. And although Dwight did only miss 6 games that season, he came into that offseason in 2012 recovering from a back surgery. So this guy was already dealing with a serious injury. So people were already aware of the risk of bringing a player like Dwight Howard in a situation like this. Okay, and Kobe obviously he had that horrible Achilles injury trying to carry the team to the playoffs, which he succeeded in doing so, but at the cost of his own health. And if you think to yourself that that can be replicated in this season's Lakers team, then you have to realize that the odds of that happening are very, 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 very low. Also, another thing that the team was going through that season was, ego problems and just different problems in terms of the dynamics between Howard and Kobe and whatnot. And Dwight himself talked about this candidly in an interview with Shams in 2019, saying, "Well, I just think there were two big problems, injuries and ego. For a basketball team, those two things can make or break you. When you've got major guys on the team that get injured, it kind of takes away from what you're trying to accomplish. And then when everybody isn't on the same page because of their egos and what they're being fed by people at home, agents and stuff like that, now you got everybody just out there doing their own thing. But when you take your ego away, leave it at home, throw it in the trash, and just come to work and do your job, it makes everything a lot better." These comments came just after Dwight Howard committed to signing with the Lakers 6 years after that disastrous 2013 season. And this was a welcome sight for many people in the Lakers organization because now you have a guy in Dwight Howard that's been humbled by a lot of the years that he had to go through in teams to where he wasn't producing the numbers that he used to produce and his gravity on defense wasn't the same. And so Dwight Howard had to humble himself. And at this point, you have a guy that is different and that can provide you some good minutes and not interfere with the team with his ego. And Dwight Howard now, just after they lost to Golden State on Friday, was singing the same tune. When he was talking about him and Rondo and what they had to bring to the table after the game, he said, "We know when we come in the game what we have to bring. That's energy, effort, and intensity. And that's what we plan to do as soon as we get out there. Play as hard as we can. Change the game with our effort, and I thought we did that tonight." And he's right. He scored 23 points with 12 rebounds on an 8 of 11 shooting that night, and he was very much a good player in that moment. And speaking of which, Rondo is exactly what the Lakers would need to really counter this narrative that they're the 2012, 2013 Lakers again. Because Rondo is much younger than Steve Nash by 5 years, and he's much more mobile, much more agile, and he has a better passing game than Steve Nash had when he was 39. At that point, he was very stiff. He was dealing with nerve irritations. And who do you have instead of Metta World Peace? Well, you have a player in Carmelo Anthony that's top 10 and scoring all time. He still can shoot it dead eye from free. Obviously, he doesn't bring the same defensive effort that Metta World Peace would bring to a team, but at that point, what you're looking for is a dead eye shooter because the Lakers, with Anthony Davis, with Dwight Howard, with players like Westbrook and LeBron James, they already have players that can defend the perimeter and the paint. Oh yeah, and by the way, did I mention that they have Russell Westbrook and LeBron James in the same team? Yeah, that's basically all I had to say.